Welcome everyone to this year presentation from the diploma projects of the Animation Institute from 2019. So you will see quite a variety of different projects from 2D to 3D, and I think also some interactive media productions. So we will start with the first project. It's called Nightcat. This is Jessica Drexler. She is the director, and I'm Nina Schwarz, the producer. This is a 2D animate. This is the concept of a 2D animated series. We actually produced a trailer, and it's supposed to be for kids in the age of like 5 to 8 years.
Hello, I'm the director. And I love cartoon series, so I wanted to create a new one. And I thought, who doesn't love cats and superheroes? So we do, and that's why our series is about a cute little house cat that becomes a superhero at night. So here Nero, alias Night Cat, lives a comfortable life as a very beloved house cat in a comfortable, safe and luxurious world. Home, and he loves his life, but he's also longing for thrilling adventures, so he strikes out at night to defend the streets. But he must keep his secret, the secret of his identity, because if someone found out that he's a spoiled house cat, no one would take him serious anymore. So he blackens all his white spots on his fur and becomes Night Cat, and only his friend Betty the Bat knows about his two identities, and side by side they fight for the peace in the neighborhood. They've got some friends who support them, but there are also villains who want to destroy their peaceful lives. Here you can see some early concepts for the characters and the final concepts of the characters. As you can see, they have a slightly different appearance at night than at day. Here you see the villains. And we animated a trailer for the series, but before starting animating, we had to do some concepts, character sheets, color sheets, and this helped a lot visualizing how they would look when they move. This was the workflow for our trailer. We did the concept art and the character and color sheets in Photoshop, as well as the storyboard. The animatic we did in Premiere, the animation in Harmony, Toon Boom, and the final compositing in After Effects. A really classic way to do. And here you can see some stills from the trailer. This is how the series would look like. Besides the trailer, we also developed some first ideas for episodes for the series, and we would love to bring this project further in the future.
So, like we already said, we've been working on that project for 2 semesters, and we have the trailer, and now we would really like to go more into the development of like a pilot episode. So we went to Cartoon Springboard to get like a first insight of how it's working out there in the industry. And this week we will participate at Animation Production Day, which is on Friday, to like get in touch with some broadcasters and maybe co-producers to get deeper into that field to really make a series out of it and not just a trailer and some awesome ideas. So that was Nightcat. For any further information, you can contact us. This is our amazing team. Thank you for listening.
Hello everybody, so we are the team of Pampas Paradise. Eddie Hof is our director and I'm Alexandra Todorovic, the producer. Yeah, and Eddie will talk about the series now.
Yes, I think a lot of you know out of Instagram these people. That's like fitness addicts, like they like to show off, female, male, doesn't matter. And it doesn't come from my intention doesn't come from working out, obviously, but yeah, still I really love the community, and yeah, Pampas Paradise is 1 minute, several episodes long series, mini series for the web, and its target is young adults and grown-ups. So yeah, our key question is like, in a world populated with fitness addicts, we face them with the biggest challenge, boring everyday situations. So it's basically like addicted persons that try to live a normal life. And yeah, we did a lot of animatics and try or search for situations where they could work out, where it's not appropriate to work out, and yeah, we tested them, and we decided on 3 episodes: the mountain, the park, and the funeral. And now I will show some designs. That was like the first designs I did, and the problem was, or the challenge was, that too many muzzles look kind of crazy or disgusting sometimes. So I wanted more such appealing characters, but really muzzle packed. And I came up with these designs. These are the generations, and the world looks, for me, looked first like this. And yeah, then about the production. So it's a really classic workflow. Maya is our key software. We use Blender for additional modeling, which is really cool, and some effects with Houdini, and yeah, shading in Arnold, and texturing in Substance, or with Substance. These are the 3 main characters, I would say: Irmel, Arnold, and Mary. And yeah, here are some other characters and look development. Yes, then this was really cool. We had a CrossFitter which came to us and showed us some workout methods and all that stuff, and we make a lot of reference shooting, and then yeah, it makes our animation a lot easier. Then this is the final look of our park, and our final look of the funeral. The mountain is still in production. We haven't finished it yet. And now I want to show you a quick teaser for the series. And later on I will show you our Instagram account, so our site. So if you want to follow and get to know the episodes later on, yes, please stay in contact. Now I have to click, I guess.
24.
Yeah. And the music is from the Spanish techno DJ, which gave us the rights, which was really cool. Yeah, thank you very much. And let's do the next one.
So hello from us. Next to me is Mitja M., the director of Dutiful Knight, and I'm Demosthenis Ganzos, the producer of the project. It's a game, a computer game, and let's go first see the trailer so you get an idea.
Master Gav Yonder, Klar Garish, Kisha They in Newark Kate,
Linvad Hove Jov.
So the game takes place in England 1245, and it has to do with decisions that you as a knight have to meet to find who is going to be the next heir of the throne. Our team looked like that. Like the core team was Mitya, of course, the director and conceptor of the project. We also did art direction and programming. Then it was me producing, and Sebastian Klauke, who was the story writer of the project. We also did some story jams to produce 3 levels, and for us it was pretty important that we have at every point 1 level there, something to play with. So we used the Scrum technique for the production, and we adjusted it to our team structure. Now Tim is going to talk, Mitya, sorry, is going to tell you more about the story and interesting stuff.
Hi, welcome. Firstly, before we started, we made a big world background story. Those story jams were more related to like the single events and dialogues and people you meet in the game. But even before that, we came up with a huge world to have like the rules of the world. How does the world look? How are the people there? So basically, it's kind of like Central Europe in the medieval times, and there's like no magic, no fantasy, no dragons or something, but there's a lot of other things. For example, there's a religion around water in this world where a lot of people like pray to the rain gods and stuff like that. Also, we came up with different fractions that live in this world. 3 out of those 4 are related to the real fractions that lived in the medieval times. Just the outcasts are a fictional case that lives in there, and those different fractions, you have to interact with them, and you can gain or lose reputation with them throughout the game, and one of them will get onto the throne. The story in general is told episode-like every single level leads to one big outcome, the next heir to the throne, which is empty basically, and it depends like how you play the game. Like if you are one person who's really in favor of the small people, the peasants for example, it could be that there's a revolution and the peasants will be on the throne at the end of the game. So this is like the deciding factor of how you play. There's another factor that decides like how you play the game. At the start of the game there's a tutorial kind of thing, which is at the same time a psychological test, and depending on your answers you will have a different look. So each of those figures you can see up there is one possible outcome of your psychological test. Let's say you're a person that is really critic, and you're not that much curious and not that much outgoing. You could be the little bit chubby character, but if you're more scared and a little bit shy, you can get the small character, and this also changes some things in the game. This is the 5 main characters that want to get onto the throne. Each represents one, or in the case of the second guy and the 3rd queen lookalike character, represent one fraction, and you will have to interact with them, and they will help the group or will get themselves onto the throne depending on your playstyle. This is some animations. We mostly used Mixamo animations to have like those cute little loops, so it's not that much focused on animation, but it's more like the dialogues and interaction you get to play with. This is like the general workflow. So we started with story jams, as Dimos already mentioned. We came up with a big group of people, 15 people or more, and then we put them into various situations. Let's imagine you're in a medieval castle. What situations could be interesting there? Then I translated those into flowcharts, translated those into JSON, and finally implemented them into Unity. To get an idea, if you have interactions in an interactive thing, it gets huge. This is just one small piece out of the complete flowcharts. Every single level has one of those big ones. In total, it's like, I think, like 24 or something of those trees. And each of those red brackets is like a decision for a dialogue or from some interaction. The gameplay and game design in general has 4 basic pillars. It's the storytelling, the decisions, as I mentioned, fractions, and the moral. And the moral relates to this psychological thing earlier. The game tells you those things about these dialogues loading screens where also background stories told and cutscenes. And as I mentioned earlier, the dialogues put you into decision-making things, and there's always two outcomes, like the fraction reputation and the moral thing. So while you play it, you develop the story further, but also develop your own psychological profile further. And at the end of the game, one of those casts will sit on the throne, but also you will have yourself changed, and you will get an evaluation about how you started the game. Maybe you were really shy, and in the end you were a real outgoing person, and you will get this told to you through an evaluation. Generally, the look of the game is also stood up on 4 pillars. It's like those 4: liveliness, silhouettes, atmosphere, and depth. We wanted to make sure all those 4 things always worked, and it's always built up like a gradient. I think this gradient at the left side is a bit, I think it turned the wrong way, because basically what is always kind of dark in the lower parts of the screen and lighter at the upper part. Something broke with that thing. Doesn't matter. We also made some effects, so this is just some small more things for you to see, and there's a lot of fire, smoke, and one of the main things is rain. And we're currently still in development with the thing. Those are just some numbers out of the 1 year of stuff we did, and we're still developing it, and it's aimed to go to PC over Steam, and aim to be released somewhat in autumn or like winter this year. Thank you.
And now we're going to present to you Are You Still, a project I did with Simona Melzer, who did the music production and wrote the album Are You Still. Are You Still is a visual music performance where we used Touch Designer for generating the graphics and the visuals. As I said, we pre-rendered some 3D models and videos and then imported them in Touch Designer and worked with effects on them. The hardware that we used were 2 short throw projectors and an Arduino board to do the tracking, because as you're going to see, we had some set design and we wanted the surfaces to be tracked, so we have some motion and interactivity in the project as well. Now Simona is going to tell you a little bit about how she came up with, how she composed, wrote and performed Are You Still?
So I'm a music producer and singer, and I'm currently studying at the Popakademie in Mannheim. My musical style could be described as something like experimental electronic pop music. I write and produce my songs all by myself, and I use a lot of analog and modular synthesizers and drum machines in my music. And I also really like to use samples of my own voice and Foley recordings and use them in an unusual way, like percussive elements or drone sounds. You can hear that later on. The Are You Still EP is all about change and self-reflection and maybe conflicts you have with yourself, but also in relationships with other people. We came up with the question, are you still? And you could interpret that in 2 different ways. The first one is, it could be something like, are you moving forward? And the second one is, do you continue to be like with another person, or do you continue to be with the person yourself that you were in the past? Or will you change?
And then listening to that question in the beginning and the song, and As My Name gives away. I'm a fan of Greek mythology, so I came up with, I thought of the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Long story short, they're madly in love, then a snake comes, bites Eurydice and she dies. He goes to the underworld and he's devastated, so he goes to find her. While he goes down, he meets God Hades, and his condition in order to take Eurydice back would be that he is not allowed to look at Eurydice while walking up. So Orpheus agrees, they walk up to the earth. One step before going out, her hand slips out of his hand and he turns around because he's worried if she's coming with him or if something happened to her. So he turns around and of course loses forever. In an analogy to the myth, I thought that would be the perfect "Are you still" moment, because in that very moment he thinks, is she still coming? Is she in love with me? Is she still in that relationship with me? But for Eurydice as well, it could be maybe thinking about maybe she's not in love with this man. Maybe that man is not the man she fell in love with. So it's an "Are you still" moment for both of them. And talking about the project with people, I found out that many of us have been in such a situation. So we wanted to translate that in visuals, and we went more abstract with statues, distortions, and lights, with moods that look like this. And then finally the project took place. And these are the two screens that we came up with. Like I said before, with statues or, the snake moment, and then moments with a lot of color to illustrate the love between them. The set design is consisted of two surfaces. Altogether it's like 6 meters long and 3 meters high. It's made of aluminum and projection fabric. 3D, it looks like this. The two surfaces that you can see are also trackable, and we also work with LED lights. Then in the end it was something like that. Here is Paulo, our technical director, who did an amazing job both in installing the LED lights and helping me, but also on performing the tracking of the project. So you can see when we were taking the two surfaces apart, the visuals and the projectors were still following the movement. It was often looking like this during making. There was a lot of tweaking and trying to make everything fit. Then we also had to organize the sound equipment, of course, and the MIDI with which we were controlling the touch designer and the visuals. And then in the end, it was really important for us to do a trailer and edit it. So we had the amazing team of Christian Neuberger and Kati Kraft. And I think we can show the trailer now. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. I just want to give a big shout out to all these people who helped in the making of this project. Without them, it wouldn't have been possible. Zita for the dramaturgy, Franzi for the costume design, Serhat for the sound engineering, Alex, Christian and Kati for the trailer, Ella of course for the catering, and Niklas for assisting, Timo for the art direction, and Paula for the technical direction. Of course, Simone as well. Without her, we have nothing. I think it was silly enough not to write a contact. So if you want, you can just type my name, demosthenes.ganzers@gmail.com, and that would be it. Thank you.
Hello again. Let's start with the next slide. We're the team Fussel. So next to me you see Alex Berbeck, he's the director, and next to him is Tim Lehr, the technical director, and I'm still the producer. So we would like to present to you our 3D animated short film Fussel. This was our diploma project. We produced that in 2 semesters. It's about 5 minutes long. And the special thing about it is that we produced most of the part, like most of the assets, the characters, the backgrounds, in Quill. This is a VR software. Alex and Tim will tell you more about that quite in a bit. So the whole story is about Fussel. You can see him here. He's the blue guy in the middle. And he's going on an adventurous journey to find out what's at the end of the red string. So for now, we have a little sneak peek for you. So enjoy.
Hey everyone. So like Nina already said, we used Quill to create all the backgrounds and most of the characters. What is Quill? It's a virtual reality painting software. And it gave us the possibility to paint strokes in 3D space or in virtual reality in front of us. So how does that look like? You can see me here painting on the left, and on the right you can see what I'm seeing in the goggles. And in this example, I'm painting a flower, and you basically can do most of the stuff you also can do, for example, in Photoshop. So you can choose different colors, you can color it, you can duplicate it, and change colors again. You can also do animations in it. So that's what we use to create all these backgrounds and most of the characters. Why did we use Quill? Originally it was we wanted to do something more stylized, and we wanted to bridge the gap between 2D illustration and 3D animation to bring it together. So we had the idea, hey, why not just paint everything in 3D and go from there? So that was the original idea. For the characters, these are the original character designs. It was important for us to make them little monsters that are not scary but funny and interesting, so you want to know more about them. And the final designs, they look like this, so we kept a lot of the original designs but made them a little bit more slick and dynamic, I think. Also during the concept phase it was important for us because we knew, so it's a story about friendship, and these 5 characters, they will travel together and they will stand together. So it was important that the group composition looks good and that every one of the characters is still visible even if they are all standing together and doing group stuff. We also had to develop these characters in 3D because it's a 3D animation after all. So on the left you see our very first test in Quill. Looks a little bit wonky, but it's the first time trying it out. The second one is a little bit more refined test. We also did a rigging test with it. On that point we decided that the base mesh of the character would be done in Maya in a more traditional way because rigging the quill geometry gives some wonky results. But at the bottom one, it was a proof of concept of the first semester to show, okay, we can do that, we can use this in production. And on the right side, that's the final Fussel design and final rig, how we used it in production. So these characters are traveling through a lot of different worlds. We had to come up with different ideas, which backgrounds would be interesting, and we approach it a little bit like if kids are playing on the playground, and there are a lot of new kids coming together, and then the longer they play, the crazier the fantasies get, and we try to incorporate that into our environments. The environment process, for example, for the beginning shot, so we started with 2D sketches, how could these environments look like, then we set up the 3D layout with camera because this character had to move a certain distance, and so it was in our production better to do a reference geometry of the scenes, block everything in Maya, and then we did a 2D concept overpaint, define these environments more. This is how, then we recreated the environment in Quill. This is how the scene looks inside of Quill. And then on the right you see final stills of the short. And now Tim is going to tell you a little bit how we incorporated Quill in our pipeline.
Thanks, Alex. So let's have a look. Let's keep it for like that. All right. So here you can see Alex scattering around some clouds he just drew in Quill. So that's basically how we created all the sets. And in Quill, everything is very organic, and you can just do things like this, copy them over, but then you have to bring them later on in Maya for final rendering, in our case. So we had a custom tool here, which did all the exporting and processing of the geometry. For example, we could do instancing, we could do some smoothing on the colors, some blending on the animation to make things look a bit better, and to also increase the iterations. We could just have a look at it in USD view, which is part of the Pixar USD suite, and then we imported everything with a commercial plugin called Multiverse into Maya, and that kept the scenes very light for lighting and rendering. And if you're interested in the tech part of this, there will be more in-depth talk later on today.
Yeah, just like Tim said, if you want to learn more about Fussel and how we made it, we actually have 2 Quill live demos, so you can also try out and maybe draw Fussel like a head or something, so you can try out Quill and play around with the characters a little bit. You can see the times up here, and there's also the 2D special Tim already mentioned later today. So come and join us.
Thanks.
Still me, but welcome Maria Schmidt, the director of the 2D animated short film Family Bonds. It's a short film that's about 6 minutes long. So, and what it's about, Mary's going to tell you right now.
Yeah, hello from my side as well. Family Bonds is the story of our little fox, Hugo, and his quite unconventional family. Why is it unconventional? Well, because his parents are geese. They live a quite harmonic life until one day Hugo discovers a grown fox attacking another goose. So this results into a very, very difficult challenge for our little family to overcome before Hugo ultimately finds out who he really is, and that family is a feeling and not a matter of heritage. So after we figured out the story we wanted to tell, we needed to fit the characters to it, of course. So here's the first scribble that was made for the idea in itself. As you can see here, it's still pretty detailed and more suited for illustration, and needed a bit more of a unique touch for our unique little family. We also had a very limited amount of time to realize the project, so the designs needed to be engaging but efficient at the same time. So we decided to simplify a little more. This was the next iteration, which already went in a very good direction, but since our main target group is kids from 4 to 6, we really wanted the designs to be more readable and relatable for them. So into even more basic shapes I went, and I tried different things to simplify the characters, but also get that kind of cuteness factor for Hugo. Here's his final design, and some expression tests and animation guidelines on the right.
Same goes, of course, for the geese parents. I went here for more rounded and soft shapes to make them look very friendly and lovable and approachable so that kids would feel very comfortable with them. Of course, we use the same guidelines for our environment design, keeping the general shapes very simple, but combining them for interesting and unique silhouettes. Here I try to paint the different shapes and different elements analog with gouache colors and pencils, scan them all in, and assemble everything in Photoshop. And although we really, really like that look that gave us, the process was very, very time-consuming. And so we decided to try and achieve that same look through a digital approach. Clear and simple shapes and colors to visualize the emotional journey of Hugo, and adding that children's book feel through the traditional media textures and brushes. And these are some of the final backgrounds you can see in the film. So here's a little example of our final workflow. We started with the rough animation in TV Paint, going over into cleanup where we didn't add any boiling to the line art. Our motto was more what stands still stays still. Also doing the coloring in TV Paint, very flat and basic. And finally putting everything together with the backgrounds in After Effects, where we also added some shadows, rim lights, and color tints to the characters, if needed.
So now we have our wonderful movie, and what are we going to do with it? We actually have big hopes for the movie. So first of all, we want to send the movie to festivals all around the world, main focusing on kids festivals. But furthermore, we would love to make a children's book out of it. We already went to the Frankfurter Book Fair in October to get like some more insights in the publishing business. Like Mary already told you, we have a really good look that appeals to kids from like 4 to 6. So we think that could really be something. And last but not least, we think that the topic about that family is about a feeling and not about heritage is really important in our society nowadays, because there are more and more patchwork families, or, you know, not that usual family constructions anymore. So we think that this is a great topic also for a preschool kids series. So we will be at the Animation Production Day on Friday to see and get in touch with some co-producers and maybe also TV broadcasters to see what we can do with the world and family about Hugo. So, oops. Thank you very much. I think we are the last ones for now with all the project. We are all still sitting here in the first 2 rows, so if you have any questions or want to know more about the projects, don't be shy, just come and talk to us. Or if you also want to know something about studying at the Animationsinstitut, come forward. Thank you. There's a second presentation on Friday about the other projects, like about all the other people, students you didn't see today. So you can come over there and find out about some more 2D, 3D projects all over the place.